being a pampered princess.
Have you ever made sourdough starters? If you think making a sourdough...
Okay, did you say anything about duty and responsibility? You didn't say, I think you're disdainful to men. I think that you only care about materialism. I think that those are the values that you have, and you haven't said a word about duty. What you are is a misandrist and a covert feminist in disguise, LARPing as a conservative, because that's what most of you are. The second you say we're equal, well, then you need to have equal accountability.
I don't disagree at all. I love the patriarchy. I think men should lead, and us women can focus on painting our nails, making sourdough starters, being moms. I think the feminist movement is the only reason that women have to work nowadays because of the dual income. And I think
it's not. It's not to be pampered. No, it's the opposite, right? The idea. So this is the faux idea of what the patriarchy is supposed to do, which is enable you to be a pampered princess. It's not. What the patriarchy is supposed to do is protect you so that you can fulfill your duties and responsibilities to society, and that would including reproduction and being matrons for the next generation.
I literally said be a mom and make sourdough starters. That goes hand in hand with being a traditional housewife. Makes bread for your family.
Being a pampered princess.
Have you ever made sourdough starters? If you think making a sourdough...
Okay, did you say anything about duty and responsibility? You said
I said paint your nails, make sourdough, and be a mother.
They should get Post-it notes.
Be a mother and make sourdough. If you've never made sourdough, then you don't know how hard it is to keep that thing alive. And it's part of making fresh bread for your family, making natural ingredients, meals that don't have toxic chemicals in them. I think that all goes hand in hand.
Those are making sourdough bread, stuff like this, the ingredients for it, with whatever your modern luxuries are. They're just that. They're luxuries. They're gifted. They're literally gifted to women by men. Modern luxuries are. Definitely women are not gifting women modern luxury. That's insane. The thing is that women have a duty and responsibility, an ethical duty and responsibility under Christian ethics to multiply, to have families, to reproduce. They have a duty under Christian ethics to raise the next generation correctly and be matrons to young women so that we don't have the problem of pornography and things like this. That's all gone. So as long as that duty is displaced from society for women, and instead all that's left is, well, I love the patriarchy as long as they give me a life of luxury. We have essentially, that's still just as regressive as the idea that, egalitarianism is bad and I would prefer the patriarchy. Because I get a life of luxury. They're equally bad. It's an equally bad way to view it, I think.
Well, I didn't say any of that. I think you think I think that because you think you know how women think, but it's not, let's just have the patriarchy and do nothing. I'm very into traditional I'm very supportive of traditional relationships, especially like in Judaism. That's a huge thing, and that's something I've always been raised around. And if we're talking about you wanted to bring up Christianity, then in Judaism there's a lot where men are the leaders, but women are actually holier. They have a higher connection to God because of their ability to bring life into this world and everything around that. So to me, if you want to say that, it's just funny that these old-fashioned, what were commodities are just basic necessities, actually. Being able to make bread, you had to make your own bread. Cleaning your home, women used to have to make their own cleaning supplies and be somewhat chemists. So I think now it's seen as a luxury to have that time. And, thankfully society has evolved in that front, but I don't know what impression or what made you think that I think that the patriarchy means that we get to sit home all day being a mom.
Because you started with because we can paint our nails.
It's called a joke. You don't have to be so serious 24/7. You ever heard of a joke? Yeah. I think you'd like them.
Well, sure. But have you ever heard of a criticism, right? So the thing is whether you're saying it in a joking manner or not, right? It moves to the point that I'm saying, which is that in modernity, women seem to have a massive sense of entitlement, including the ones who say, well, I'm a traditionalist. It's really? Are you? Or are you looking for somebody who can provide you for a life of luxury? That's the question. And usually when you get to the nitty gritty of it, when you look at what modern women want, they want a life of luxury and a man who can provide it. I don't hear them really talk about their duties and responsibilities. What is your duty to society? Do you have one?
Yes.
I've said
no, hers. Yeah,
I've said maybe 50 times that I think being a mom is the best thing you could do. But this is why, and even though we're both,
you have a duty to be one.
Even though we're both conservatives, that's my ultimate goal in life. I think above any career or anything, being a mom and having a family. This is not something you have to suck out of me. I say this on my social media every day, but this is why I have a problem with, despite us both being conservatives, this is something that I think for your own sake, if you really want to have impactful messaging and continue to have people who maybe disagree. I don't disagree with you on most things, but even you, to actually listen to what you're saying. A lot of times when people on the far right, or I don't think you're far right, but I do think that on our side of the aisle, you can very clearly tell that the way you're speaking of it from a place where you genuinely have disdain or hard feelings towards women. It's not from a place of I love women, they're so amazing, we need to support them, make them mothers, we need to let them, we need to protect women at home. You're what's your duty to society? That doesn't sound like a mature man. at all. And like,
why do you think men's job is to kiss your ass? My job isn't to kiss your ass.
Who said kiss my ass? I said to actually want women to be mothers because we want to protect them.
I think you're disdainful to men. I think that you only care about materialism. I think that those are the values that you have, and you haven't said a word about duty. But yet, at the same time, your criticism to me is that if we even have a dispute or an argument, suddenly it's disdainful towards all women.
No.
I've raised women into the next generation. Have you? No. I've actually done it. And so the thing is like, before you make these insane criticisms about what the right should or shouldn't be, right, maybe you should learn things like, I don't know, basic libertarian economics and laissez-faire, even though you have a degree in political science, which is fucking insane, right? I think, personally, that what you are is a misandrist and a covert feminist in disguise, LARPing as a conservative, because that's what most of you do.
Yeah. I think you misunderstood what I was saying. I wasn't, one, that's barbaric, but two, like I've literally to say that I'm an undercover feminist when I've literally gone head to head with feminists for 5 years and all my content and everything I believe and preach about. Let me finish. How about that? Okay, let me finish talking. I think you misunderstood what I was saying. I wasn't linking. Andrew, can you shut up for 30 seconds? Let me talk.
The patriarchy.
Andrew, try.
To be silent?
Can somebody mute him?
Andrew, just let her finish. Andrew, just let her finish. Go ahead, Deborah.
It's that loud.
Go ahead, Deborah.
I think you misunderstood what I was saying and took it as a personal criticism when I wasn't saying it as personal criticism. I was saying that what you're saying, I agree with the majority of what you're saying, and I think it would come across better, and that this is a disconnect between men and women, even on the same side of the political aisle, or people who probably share the majority of how they think society should be run, things like that. I really do think that. I think that this is a broken messaging, and I would wish that more people would listen to this message, and I think you don't realize listening to it, as somebody who does agree that it doesn't seem like it's coming from a place of we should protect women as a society, and their best thing that they, like, not their only thing, but women are mothers, that's their role in society, they're the matriarchs of society, and therefore we should protect them. We shouldn't force them to work. We shouldn't have to have them working 9 to 5s and being corporate slaves to their bosses who don't care about them. And I think the difference is coming from a place of genuinely loving women and understanding their importance to the world and to traditional relationships and traditional values and Christianity and everything alike. It seems sometimes that the disconnect in the messaging is that it's just coming from a place of like, you're a woman, you have a duty to do this, when rather, why do we have that duty? Like, not why do we have that duty aside from the religion, but like, where does it actually come from? Why do you truly believe that women should be protected or things like that? I just think messaging-wise, and this wasn't a personal attack, I think more people would listen, and they should listen. It just doesn't seem so much like it's coming off right now from a place of like, women should be protected in sports, in the workforce, in homes, and everything alike. And that's all I was saying. I wasn't trying to personally attack you. And if you really think I'm a feminist, then that's very hysterical and you have a horrible character judgment.
Great. But so can I respond now?
Go ahead, Andrew.
To all that prattle? So let me just respond and say, I think it's hilarious that you say, I heart patriarchy. And the second you're in a conversation with a man, the first thing you do is go, how dare you speak over me? I'm a proud, strong woman. Look at how great I am. You haven't spoken about duty at all. Yes, absolutely, you're a covert feminist. The idea here of what you're talking about is just pure tone policing. It's pure tone policing. I love your messaging, Andrew. I think you're totally right. Everything you're saying is completely correct. But if you used a different tone and kissed women's asses and packaged it in such a way that they thought you were kissing their ass, they might be more responsive to it. That's in opposition to what I want in society. What that does is it curtails truth. What that does is it makes it so that you can't actually deliver a message in its proper context, its proper form, because somebody might take offense. That is the opposite of what conservatives should be doing. And it is the opposite when you see conservatives doing that you see work. Case in point, Donald J. Trump. Donald Trump wasn't sugarcoating anything. He called women ugly dogs. He called women fat. He called them obnoxious. He called them all sorts of things. And he's the president of the United States right now. And women, in lieu, actually voted for him this time around. So the thing is like all this PC, politically correct, woke fucking nonsense of, Andrew, you must correct your tone. Because when I attack you, I do it in a passive-aggressive way. And when you talk to me directly. I think it's bullshit. It's nonsense.
I think you just take everything I say, put it through a weird machine, and then like spew it out and think I said something completely different.
The machine's called logic.
I never said, oh my God, you're talking over me. This highlights exactly what I think.
You're such a strong woman.
This is what I think. I think you just don't like women, and that your desire for this doesn't come from a place of you genuinely loving and caring about women and thinking that women are special.
You know? You can read my heart now.
The way that you're talking to me, you think that I had to freak out and set your time.
I'm talking to you like
you won't let me get 5 words out. It doesn't matter if I'm a woman or you're a man. It's called a debate and a conversation. And if you're not letting the other person get 5 words out, it doesn't matter about our gender. It matters. I don't know why you think that's crazy for me to ask you to be quiet while I respond to something that you said, or let me talk for 10 seconds without jumping over me when we can only hear one person at once. That's not, and of course you attribute that to me being a woman freaking out, but really I'm just asking you to shut the fuck up for a second.
I'm gonna let you.
Right.
I'm gonna let.
Right. Wait, hang on. You're gonna hit me with I heart patriarchy until the people who you would consider patriarchs are speaking to you, and then suddenly the patriarchy should be disrespected. You should talk over it. You should be able to do whatever the hell you want, right? So the second we come into this, we find out that no, your true nature is revealed very quickly. It's just another entitled, like TPUSA girl, right, spewing a bunch of nonsense and trying to pretend that you're a conservative. You're LARPing as a conservative, covert feminism.
Okay, Groiper. This is just...
We're talking about marriage, right?
Wait, first of all, why are you calling me a Groiper?
Because this is everything you just said. Like, I literally, it's just so obvious. Like, do you want to rewatch what you just said? You're telling me because I asked you to be quiet while I was saying something because you wouldn't let me get a word out. That means that I'm a fake feminist, and because you're a man, that I should shut up and just listen to everything you say and say, yes, sir, absolutely. I know a ton of leaders who are patriarchs who are much better men than you are, and I don't know who you are personally, but I'm saying as you're acting now, I would never subscribe to you as a leader, but that doesn't make me a feminist. That makes me understanding of how great men can be, and I don't think this is a shining example, and I don't think everything you say is good.
This is actually perfect.
I think strong men should lead us, and if I had to make that choice about you, I don't think I would be in favor of it, but I think strong men protect women and they care about women, and good luck to you.
This is actually perfect. So the idea here is actually that you're the leader, see? So the idea here is, wait a second. I get to determine who leads who. I get to determine where they lead them. I get to make all those determinations. After all, Andrew, if you were some kind of leader, I'd never follow you. So the idea here just moves into the regressive notion of feminism. It is all the responsibility with none of the authority. When authority is exercised, the very first thing you do is rebel against it. So the very first thing you do is rebel against it. And so the thing is like, we can see this pattern over and over and over again with all of the LARPing conservative chicks. First thing you do is call me a Groiper. What the hell does Groiper ideology have to do with Andrew Wilson's ideology? Nothing. Complete straw man. Right? Made up because you were looking for a way to insult me. You didn't know what else to say, so that's what you said. Okay, Groiper. It's like,
and you're not trying to insult me by calling me an undercover feminist LARPing as a TPUSA girl?
I just let you talk. Now I can't respond. So anyway, so moving back into this, yeah, it just seems like total and complete covert feminism. It's exactly what I expect. Anytime I argue with one of the faux conservative babes online, it's always the same thing. The second you get to the heart of it, it's women should be protected. Women should have their asses kissed, right? But men should have the responsibility with none of the authority. So like here, let me give you a demonstration of this if I'm wrong. Do you think women should vote?
Yes.
Should they be able to vote to send men to war?
You mean voting on a draft?
No, just voting, period. If you vote,
I think women should be able to vote,
right?
Yes.
Yeah, so send men and are you eligible to be drafted?
I never registered for the draft, but that is a position. I know. I know because the ERA never passed, and that's a position I've held. That as an American citizen who has a right to vote, I think that women, even though as a society I don't think it would be helpful to send women to war, I understand my duty as an American that if America was in a war tomorrow and they said, you're an American, we need you to fight. This is my country, I want to defend it. But you say that I'm attacking you, but you called me a fake conservative. You said I'm an undercover LARP feminist. What makes you think of I'm a fake conservative? What does that even mean? I have ideologies. How can I be a fake conservative when I've lived my life by the ideologies?
I'm pointing it out to you right now.
And how? What make what?
That if you say, for instance, that there should be egalitarianism, women should vote equal to men's vote, but women cannot be drafted and thus can vote to send men off to war, you're actually giving yourself a position of privilege in society that men do not have. Since this is the case, that you accept that there's privilege that women have, that men, on the other hand, do not have. You say, for instance, wait a second, I think it's my duty to get drafted. They're not going to send you to the front lines to fight. It's ridiculous. They never would. Our army would get crushed. So that doesn't even make any sense.
So you're pissed
hang on, I'm almost done. I just let you talk. That's not, first of all, it's not a conservative principle. It makes no sense at all, right? And again, this is the idea of men responsibility absent authority. Absent authority. It's still taking away authority. If you really wanted men to be an authority, why would you advocate women vote? That makes no sense.
Because I love voting, and I think women should vote.
Because you love voting?
Because I'm an active member of society. Okay.
Because I want to, Andrew, because I want to.
Well, this is what I mean when you take what I say and you put it, this is why I called you a groiper too. You don't think women should vote. You take what I say and you put it through a ringer. It's not conservative to say that I would defend my country if we went to war, because I agree with the values of American values, and I think that's worth defending if it were to come to war. But at the same time, I don't think it's a mark of a good society where women and children are protected and they're not sent to the front lines like they're doing in Ukraine right now. There have been a lot of women who've been drafted. There are situations like that. That makes me a fake conservative.
I don't think there's been...
Not drafting. They were trying to recruit women because they've been running so low on soldiers. Can you mute? Okay. I just knew,
tell me. I just want to answer my question.
What's your question? When you take everything I say and flip it around.
If you really want men to have the authority, and women to be the followers and men the leaders, men actually have the authority, why do you advocate for women to vote? Can you actually tell me?
Is women not voting going to suddenly is that going to take away every single woman from a powerful position in this entire country? Because we're talking reality. We're not talking in floofy land where anything can happen right now. Why do you think women should not have the right to vote? Why do you think that?
I just told you. So if you advocate that men have the responsibility, right, but they don't have the authority, which I think you're advocating for. It's a progressive feminist viewpoint. If it were true that you wanted men to have the authority, right, and the responsibility, then you would advocate only they voted and not women. Can you actually give me an argument, any argument at all, for how that doesn't logically follow?
It doesn't line up with the original land owning and everything that was said in our Constitution to provide voting rights. The fact that women can own their own land right now. What?
Women couldn't vote.
I know, and when we changed and gave women the right to vote, I think that was a good thing. I think it got more women involved, and I think this ideology of yours, and again, why I called you a groiper, is because the majority of reason why far-right men do not want women to vote is because women tend to vote liberal. I voted conservative across the board. I voted Republican in every election, but I'm not going to defend my values that I know near and dear to my heart and the candidates that I've worked for, including Rob Astorino. I was on Trump's team on his coalition of Jewish voices. Across the board, I've helped Republican candidates get elected, so I don't really care what you have to say, whether you think I'm fake or not.
That's not an argument. Can I actually get an actual argument from you? Here's the argument.
That's my response to you.
If you actually want men to have authority,
so then we just move it on. That's what he is.
And responsibility, and women to follow that authority and not have responsibility, why would you advocate women voted? That makes no sense. Can you give me an actual argument?
The strongest response for this time is that the men right now, you know the old saying where good times create strong men, or whatever it is, good times basically create weak men. And I think we're in that time zone right now where if we were in the George Washington, are you going to let me finish? Thank you.
Go ahead.
If we were at a time where masculinity was very prevalent, I think this is a large issue where you have a sassy man apocalypse, we don't have men understanding what it means to actually be men. I think that if we were in a time zone where men were strong, true leaders, then we can go to that. But when we have men out here who are soy boys, they don't want to speak up, they support abortion, they think that they should just listen to whatever their wife should do, they don't actually think that a woman has a value, they think that they should be a stay-at-home dad, a lot of things like that. I think at this point in society that if we just handed it over to the men are having a lot of problems too. We can talk about lowering testosterone levels and everything across, hiring levels of anxiety and depression across the board, and I think it doesn't make me a fake conservative to say that I think there are good male leaders out there much better than you could ever be, and if you think you're compared to Donald Trump, that's funny.
That women need to lead.
Hold on, Andrew.
That women need to lead and usurp men's authority. That was literally what you just advocated. I can't believe you said that. I literally can't even believe you said that.
One second.
Believe it.
Deborah.
Who's going to determine that the man is leading properly?
Does it not say in the Torah or Bible or wherever you want to reference it as that a woman should submit to a husband who is worthy
and loyal and provider?
Is that not a biblical value?
It is, because I'm very religious.
That a man should, and that's what I was saying beforehand, where I stand by what I said, that this generation, not for many reasons, not only their fault, things that came before them, what it means, I don't want to speak for men, but overall, I think if there has been a decline on both sides of gender roles, and this is by design in our society to take away gender roles and say that there's no difference between a man and a woman, which I vehemently disagree with. And overall, I think that men should be worthy leaders. There's a lot of crazy men, just like there's a lot of crazy women, but...
Do you have your phone?
Yeah.
Did you not hear the instructions to not be on your phone?
I never put it back after I showed you the picture.
What's that?
I just didn't go back over there and put it back.
Okay, that's fine. Go ahead.
The picture.
Sorry, Deborah. Go ahead.
No, it's fine. I stand by what I said, which I think that what it comes down to, a man who can provide, protect, and show that he is a strong leader absolutely deserves a woman who can trust him. And this is, I think, a big misalignment within society where I think deep down women really do want to submit to men. They want to be able, as we say in girl world, just turn your brain off when you're on a date. You don't have to
be in
think
your feminine
about
power,
where you're walking, and you can really, and what I said with the sourdough and nails and stuff like that, clearly you don't understand jokes, but that's just my style when it comes to speaking. I think embracing your femininity, women, because we've been pushed into the workforce and had to unconsciously or unwillingly take on a lot of the male roles, like being the provider, being the protectors, things of that nature, has led women to not be able to embrace their femininity. And so I think in a good relationship, a man will be able to embrace and flourish in his masculinity, and the same with the woman. And whatever that means, being a homekeeper, being a matriarch, being a really soft landing space for her husband to land on, and a good mother, providing that environment.
Okay, so my follow-up question to you would just be this then. If that is the case, and this is what you believe, if you actually wanted men to have the authority inside of society and the responsibility, why would you advocate that women could vote?
Because I think you keep deleting the most important part of this, which is that not every single man right now and at large, there is a lack of strong fathers. There's a lot of things that lead into, and this is not only a male problem, there's a female problem too. There are a lot of factors that lead into men. This is like the man or the bear question, if we get to that I think not every man right now, just being a man doesn't inherently make you worthy of being a leader. I think that you have to show that you are a leader, and this is true across the history of the world. Every single shepherd in the Torah and the original book was chosen for a lot of their specific qualities. There's a reason why those men were chosen to be leaders. Same with Donald Trump. There may be other men who share similar qualities to him, but there's a reason why he was chosen to lead, as opposed to any random guy that you can maybe find on the side of the street in LA who's catcalling women. I think that men who are worthy and live up to what it means to be leaders and protectors, and also have kind hearts, not softies, but just overall good men, in my definition of it, I think those men are worth leading. And I don't think just because you're a man that automatically makes you a perfect, amazing leader. We've seen that throughout all of society. So
how is this argument not actually contradictory? Because you're saying essentially that you need to reduce men's authority because you don't think that they're in a good position to lead women. You don't think that men in society are good enough leaders, and since they're not good enough leaders, you need to have authority so that.
When did I say? And sorry to cut you off, but
I'm saying this is. When
did I say any of that?
I'm explaining. This is an illogical entailment of your argument. If you say to me, I'm advocating that women be able to vote because there's too many men in society who, if we give authority to, are going to lead me wrong, then you're actually saying that you need to have authority so that you can determine who's a leader and who isn't a leader, that actually is stripping authority away from men. Like, this is the logical entailment. I don't see a way around it.
No, I think you're just taking it how you take it, which no matter how I say it, you're just interpreting it and saying what you want to say. I've said a million times.
What's illogical about what I'm saying?
I didn't say the word illogical. You keep taking what I say and then just changing what I'm saying and then saying, so you're saying this. And then when I say, no, I didn't say that. When did I say we should take power away from men? When did I say that we should take power away from men? When did I say that? Once.
I'm showing you the entailment of the logic. Here, I'll literally break it down. Really simple. Here, I'll show you. So premise one.
I don't need you to show me. I need you to tell me when I said that, because I'm saying what I say and you're telling me what you think I genuinely believe, and you still won't address the point. But he can talk over me whenever he wants. And if I talk over him, it's because I'm a woman who wants to have men removed from society.
Look, I've moderated Andrew tonight. You got to let him finish.
How many times can you tell me what I think I said and what I think I mean?
Hear him out.
Just going to show you.
Keep saying that, though.
Okay, stop. Just go ahead, Andrew.
So it's just like this. Just premise one, men need to lead. Okay. Premise two, in order for men to lead, they need to have authority. Premise three, women need to vote. Premise four, why do women need to vote? They need to vote because men aren't adequately leading, so women need to have authority. That's the entire syllogism. So then the conclusion is men are not capable of leading, so women need to have authority so that they can pick the men that need to lead them. So it's actually stripping authority away from men. I don't know a way around that. Like, I'm literally reducing it.
And you still haven't addressed, again, that was not what I said. I didn't say men need to lead. I said they should lead. Ideally, men should be the leaders of society. But I don't think, you still won't address 15 times over. You're telling me what you think I said, but you won't address the one point, which is there has been a decline in what it means to be a man in terms of masculinity, in terms of chivalry, everything like that. Across the board, there has been a decline. So if you agree with me that men are not, and this isn't only a male thing, but just speaking about men as leaders, that men at large, there has been a decline of what men's role in society has been, what they feel to be a man, and all of that combined means that right now, doesn't mean we should take authority away from men. It's the one thing you won't address is that I think we as a society, as women, as men, as Americans, as whatever, should work towards getting back to a place where men and women are more strong and embrace their femininity and their masculinity. And I think that will lead us to a better place where women who can embrace their femininity will naturally approach matriarchy. They will naturally say, wait, maybe, you know what? I actually don't love my corporate job. I know a lot of women who have convinced themselves that being powerful and that they need to work for 30 years and make $1 million and then they'll have kids in their 40s. And then I personally don't agree with that. And I think that if we as a society get back to a place where originally women were not expected to be in the workforce, things of that nature, then men hopefully can recover in whatever that means to them, and masculinity can become something that means more to them and is not seen as like I'm not done. Toxic masculinity, all of that stuff. I'm almost done, you can wait. All of that toxic masculinity stuff has taught men to feel bad about themselves and not embrace their masculinity. So I think the most important part of this is not stripping away power from men or saying women are better to lead. I think we need to focus on fixing that issue, whether it's through strong fatherhood, whether it's through stopping this idea that everybody's saying toxic masculinity anytime a man wants to actually act like a man, opening the door for a woman and a woman gets offended. I think moving away from that as a society will get us to a place where men at large will be better equipped to lead society. And it doesn't mean that right now, I'm not saying if I really meant it, I would say it. I'm not having any secret arguments. I'm saying what I mean, which is the step one. I think ideally men should be the leaders, and the step to get there is to fix masculinity. That's what I'm saying.
So to address, you keep saying I want to address this argument, but the argument was my premise. So the thing is when you say, okay, but you haven't addressed what's going on with men in society and the lower testosterone and the fact that they're not leading as well. But I actually did. That was the premise of my original argument, which is the reason that you see a failure in men in society is because they have all the responsibility without the authority. They have the responsibility absent the authority. So I say, okay, so how do we fix that? How do we fix the idea here that you have additional responsibilities without authority? Your premise here is, well, we need to move back to all of these things, which are preambles to women voting, by the way. That all of these things that you're pointing to, this is pre-women's suffrage. And so I go, okay, well, that makes sense. So then why is it then that you would say that men, right, who have this additional responsibility as leaders, right, you wouldn't want them to have the authority to exercise that responsibility? That seems like it's ultimately what you want. What's going on is you have an actual internal conflict here. The conflict is, I want to be a strong, empowered woman while at the same time advocating that there's a patriarchy. It's like you can't have both.
You don't know that.
Hang on. Either the patriarchy is empowered with the authority to lead, or it is not. And if you say it's not empowered with the authority to lead, women need to be able to select the leaders. You have a matriarchy then, not a patriarchy. You have a second class that has additional responsibilities women don't have, but have a limited amount of authority or equal authority to women. That's the opposite of patriarchy. It makes no sense.
I just don't understand what position or where you're coming from where you consistently think that you know what I actually feel. I'm having an internal conflict. You don't know anything about my values before the show. Maybe you follow me. I don't know. No, you're not listening to what I'm saying. You're saying the opposite of what I say every single time, and that's why it's just so frustrating. I have an internal conflict because I want to be an empowered woman. You're pushing what you clearly don't like about women onto me, somebody that you clearly don't know much about, or you can happily look through my social media.
I'm just listening to your arguments.
And based off of that, you are saying that I'm clearly a secret feminist who wants to be an empowered woman, finally said it right for everybody else, but you're telling me that based off absolutely what? Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Logic. I'm showing you logic.
No, that's not logic. That is you trying to push what you think about women onto me, trying to catch me in something.
I'm just showing you a logical position.
What have I said? Or what have I displayed throughout my life that shows that I want to be an empowered woman where men are on the sidelines and don't have power?
You are advocating that women vote. If you advocate women vote, the entailment is women have authority.
Well, women can vote.
Hang on. I'm answering your question. So if the entailment is that women have authority and equal authority to men, that's not a patriarchy. It's the opposite of a patriarchy. That's no longer a patriarchy. So if men have additional responsibility, right, but they only have equal authority, then they don't have the authority to lead. They don't have the authority to lead because you can negate their authority anytime you want. That's the entailment of your logic. When you say, what have I displayed in my personal life, has nothing to do with the logic of your argument. It's an illogical argument. It makes no sense. Either you want men and a patriarchy, so you want men to have the authority to lead and the responsibility thereof, or you don't. But you can't say, but I need to be equal with them in political status for them to lead. That's the opposite of your own position. It makes no sense.
No, I don't live in a fantasy world. I live in the current world where women do have the right to vote. And if you are advocating for women losing the right to vote, that is something that I don't agree with. And I don't know why you think women shouldn't vote. If I think men should lead us, right now, it's not an option in front of me. Should women not have the right to vote? Women have the right to vote. This isn't the 1800s like a lot of people want us to go back to, apparently. This is modern history. And if you're asking me if I would repeal this, no, I would absolutely not. If I think in an ideal society, men should be the leaders of society, yes, but I don't understand why you think you're catching me.
How do you want them to lead?
How do I want them to lead?
Without authority to lead, how?
Well, why do you think that you said it yourself, that the only reason the downfall of masculinity and all this stuff is because men don't have the authority to exercise their leadership?
Correct, yeah.
That's the only reason that men and masculinity has declined? That's ridiculous. I think that's ridiculous.
Listen, it's not. All the things that you would consider. Like if I told you to point to a time where you thought men were strong leaders, you'd point to
the greatest generation that my grandpa was in.
Hang on. You would point to pre-suffrage. If I asked you when were men better men, you'd point to pre-suffrage. If I asked you any of these things, you would point to pre-suffrage.
How do you know? You haven't asked me. This is exactly what you've been doing the whole time. You have this idea.
When were men better men? Tell me.
Yeah,
Answer me. When were men better men? I'm asking you. You want me to ask you? I'm asking you. When were men better men?
But this is why it's just not even like I could go back and forth with you, but everything I've said this entire time, I give you a solid answer, and you flip it and say, "Well, you think this, you think that," because you're just trying to.
Men were men better men. Just answer, please.
Can't entertain this anymore.
You want to answer? You're not going to answer.
Because it doesn't matter what I answer to you. You think you know what I believe, and you're going to tell me what I actually think, despite every other question you've asked me. You've had the same reaction, and so I just don't think there's any point of me telling you something, because whatever I say,
you brought it up, and so I'm engaging
I've said 1,000 times what I think, and you keep telling me I'm on undercover this, or I really think this or that.
I'm asking you a question.
Okay, nice.
When were men better men? Can you answer the question? I don't know why we need to do a bunch of emotional outbursts. Can you just answer the question?
Emotional outbursts? You called me a covert feminist, saying all these personal attacks because I said what? That I think women should vote?
No, I'm giving you declarative statements of fact. I haven't personally attacked you at all. Okay. So the thing is just very quickly, can you just tell me when you think men were better men? When?
No.
What's the time period?
I'm not going to.
Of course not. Of course not. Right. Okay.
Can I do it, Andrew?
I can't force her to engage in the conversation.